The National Press Club is supposed to be straight down the line. It is supposed to be objective, impartial, and create a forum for discussion. Instead, we have seen the Press Club hijacked by those with vested interests in debate. This week at the Press Club, Nine-star journalist David Crowe led moderation, and he let Yes campaigner Noel Pearson off the hook without almost any scrutiny.
Kat's question began with a reference to some of the claims by No. One of them is that The Voice divides Australia by race. It gives special treatment to one group on the grounds of race. What's your response to that very widespread and argument from the No side?
Okay. Janet Albrechtsen and Andrew Bolt, about 10 years ago, made that argument.
Keep in mind that Pearson wants to change the Constitution. He should be probed vigorously from every angle, but that didn't happen. Crowe is unashamedly barracking for key principles in the Yes campaign, and you can tell what he thinks by how he moderates. Crowe even co-wrote a news article about the same event he moderated. He wrote that Pearson's contrasts peace dividend from Voice with war from No side. Australians have been promised a peace dividend from the Indigenous voice in a crucial pitch from the Yes campaigner Noel Pearson to convince voters to back the change and reject what he called a confected war from the No side. Balanced stuff from Crowe. But then today Crowe doubled down on his support for the Yes campaigner's speech, which he was in charge of moderating. The big lie that just won't die in the Voice contest. The Voice is not about elevating one race above another. It is not about race at all. It is about recognising Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people because they were here first. This is fundamental, but forgotten in a debate that is now smothered by arguments about race. The falsehood holds a real power in this referendum and will stain the landscape long after the vote. Does The Voice really divide Australians by race? No, it is the big lie that just won't die. So where did Crowe get his talking points from? Aside from the fact he is clearly misleading his viewers, as you would have to be incredibly dishonest to argue race is not a core feature of the proposal, Crowe's opinion seemed oddly familiar.
This is not about race. This is about us being the original peoples in the country.
Is he just lazy, or was he so smitten with Pearson's address that he didn't realise he had just regurgitated the same argument back onto paper? You decide. Either way, it is disgraceful stuff by Nine Paper's chief political correspondent taking a clear political position in a debate which is for Australians to have. And it speaks volumes about the issues we have with a press club, which appears to have lost all connection with what the average Australian expects. These wildly biased journalists give their mates a soft run and come at adversaries with a sledgehammer. It is all about politics. Just like this moment Crowe came for Jacinta Nampijinpa Price and tried to corner her on colonisation.
We're moving into an area that goes well beyond The Voice, but it is interesting. I have talked to Indigenous people, and I'm sure others have too, who talk about generations of trauma among Indigenous Australians as a result of colonisation. Whether that means that colonisation continues now is probably a separate question, but would you accept that there have been generations of trauma as a result of that history?
Well, I guess that would mean that those of us whose ancestors were dispossessed of their own country and brought here in chains as convicts are also suffering from intergenerational trauma. So I should be doubly suffering from intergenerational trauma.
The media is completely out of step with public sentiment on The Voice. And as we get closer to October 14, and as the polls stay just as flat, pay attention to how they panic. Well, Michelle, I want to bring you in here because this is interesting from the Press Club. Obviously, they're getting people from both sides, so there's no allegation that there's bias in who they're picking. But I'm noticing a lot tougher questions for people who are barracking for a no vote compared to people who are looking to change the Constitution.
Yeah, I think there's been what we've seen consistently, there's been no accountability to what people are saying. We saw it with Lydia Thorpe as well. Like, no one was really even just going back at her and questioning her on some of the ludicrous things that she was actually saying. So I think that's where the National Press Club is falling short here. Noel Pearson, though, it's interesting when he says it's not about race. Then he went on a whole tirade about how being about race and how people from other countries, from India and stuff like that, what side do you choose? So I think there was a lot that needed to be kind of cleared up there. It's all a bit muddy. David Crowe, look, he's a brilliant journalist, no doubt, but I do think what I have seen from him is a lot of yes support. And I think we also need to be really clear on making sure if the yes vote gets across that we have tested it and we have asked the right questions. It's not about saying no, it's about asking the right questions and getting the right answers. And I just don't think a lot of people in those media positions are doing that.
Yeah, exactly. And obviously he's free to vote yes.
100%.
Who cares what he votes?
But it does come across like he is leading the charge of yes voters.
While pretending to be down the line.
Just from my perspective, that's how it does view, and I have a lot of respect for him.
Yeah, and Sophie, I mean, that seems to be the general consensus among many media circles, that this is a proposition that should go ahead, therefore good reporting should be barracking it, should be building it up. It seems like a concept which should be against journalism. If somebody wants to change the Constitution, surely you want to probe that contention.
Look, I'll make a couple of points here, Jack. David Crowe is well within his rights to write opinion and analysis one way or the other. He can do that. That's what opinion journalism is all about. However, when he's hosting at the National Press Club, it's really important that he's seen to hold both sides of the argument to account. And from the grabs you're showing there, it does appear that he's not holding the yes side to account like he's holding the no side to account. And that's why I think the National Press Club has a bad reputation in some circles, because people see it as a lefty love-in where they have people in there that they agree with and they treat, very nicely, and then they get someone with different views that doesn't align with theirs and they don't really like it. So I think the National Press Club just has to remember whoever's up, hold them all to account. And I think, when Jacinta was up, he was asking her questions. Great to see, but he should be doing the same with Noel Pearson. And from the clips and what I've seen, it didn't appear that it was on an even playing field.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, you don't have to take my word for it. He wrote an opinion piece saying how great Noel Pearson's speech was and why he dispelled what he called a big lie. So he's exposed his own bias there. And if he is the moderator, in my opinion, he should just keep quiet.